Hi, it's Gila Nehemia, sacred erotic love mentor, poet, and author, and I'm so excited to start this particular episode of Collaboration Ascension with Andrea Heuston. I love her writing. I found her on LinkedIn because her writing spoke to me, and she was all about the empowerment of women. And I reached out to her and I said, "Can would you like to be on the series?" And she said yes. So I'll let Andrea say a few words about herself before I ask her some questions.
Hi, Gila. I'm so happy to be here and speak to your audience. Yes, I write. I'm passionate about women and empowering women. The writing that I do on LinkedIn is really about empowering female leaders to empower others. And I think it's vital and important that we start to celebrate the traits that women have as leaders that haven't historically been seen as positive traits for leaders, but they really are.
Yes, yes, that's so true, especially in this climate. We are in unprecedented times, as you know, as we talked about before we started. And yeah, actually, I just wrote a piece about the new normal. So can you
Yeah.
describe to us, what's going on with you and how you're feeling and what's the vibe over there?
Well, it is a new normal, I would say. I've been quarantining or self quarantining at our cabin on the coast for the last 4 weeks, mainly because I'm high risk. I fall into that high risk category. To get COVID-19, I had an illness 12 years ago where I was in a 19-day medically induced coma. And what it was is I had a surgery that went wrong. Then they went in to fix the surgery. I aspirated on the operating table. It turned into pneumonia. And within a day, it turned into ARDS, which is acute respiratory distress syndrome. And I lost capacity in both lungs. Now, people who are getting COVID-19 are generally falling into the exact same pattern. So they get COVID-19, they have trouble breathing. What happens is they're getting ARDS, so the acute respiratory distress syndrome, and it turns your lungs to stone, so you really can't breathe, and you have to be on a ventilator. So I was, of those 19 days in the coma, I was on the ventilator the full 19 days. I have 9 scars across my torso, and I've lost capacity in both lungs. So although I'm the healthiest I've ever been, and I hike and I walk and I exercise and do other things, I still have to be careful. So the new normal is really interesting. I mean, I have a company. I run a graphic design and marketing studio. And then I do all this other women's empowerment stuff as well. And we haven't seen each other in person in 4 weeks. So we actually do virtual meetings twice a week. And that's okay. I'm learning that I don't even need real estate space. I don't need an office anymore because we're just not using it. So that may be something I change fairly quickly. But yeah, this world is different and it's hard. There's nothing easy about it right now. I'm a fairly social person. I call myself an extroverted introvert. I love people, but I get my energy from being alone. And I think I've been not alone because I have my family here, but I've been quiet for too long. That's okay. We'll get through it.
Yes, yes, we will. And thank you for sharing that. I really, I don't have all the medical details. My brother's a doctor, but I don't talk to him about stuff like that. So, but I really appreciate the details of, um, of what this can, how this can affect some people. And I had a
Yeah.
question though, when you were in that coma, and you were on the respirator, after you got out of the coma, are you able to breathe through your lungs regularly, or has that changed for you? Like, how does that?
Surprisingly, I can breathe just fine. So I found out when I first went to physical therapy afterwards, I walked in and my physical therapist said, "Where's your oxygen tank?" And I said, I don't have an oxygen tank. And she said, "I have never met anyone in my life who survived ARDS without an oxygen tank." So at the time, it was also a 70% fatality rate. It's not as bad anymore. It's about 50%. So it's getting better. But only 3 people out of 10 survived when I got it 12 years ago. So I'm lucky. I'm one of the lucky ones. I wasn't allowed to fly for over a year because they didn't know what that would do. And when I did fly, I had to fly with an oxygen tank for the first couple of years after that. But fine now. I mean, overall, I don't have problems except I get altitude sickness a bit. And that's just because of reduced lung capacity. We were trying to climb Mount Rainier at one point, and I got up to the base camp of Camp Muir, and I couldn't go any further because I lost all ability to walk and to balance. So.
Wow.
And that's okay. There are things that, you know, everyone's restricted by something. I'm just calling it a gift that I'm still here. My motto is every day is a good day. And that's why.
So true. That's so true. And I really, I'm so glad that you're alive, that we were able to connect like this. And I do feel that personally, I'm very spiritual. It's part of my just me. And I feel that, you know, we're all here for a reason.
I agree.
And to me, I feel that this is a collective awakening. I've been talking about this, of how, you know, we've been asked to stay at home, kind of forced in some ways to stay at home, to not, you know, be social, like you said, with too many people. Primarily our families around us, and we're, you know, I can't take my kids to the store and stuff like that. But I found it's like, you know, I've been on this path for a while, but it's allowing a lot of people to go inwards. You know, you said you're an introvert and an extrovert, but some people, I know from a lot of people that I talk to, and I used to too, I'd run from my problems, you know, by shopping or, you know, doing other things and not wanting to deal. But we, you know, we just, we can't subsist that way. You know, we can't grow that way. And I wanted to know your thoughts about that.
So I think introspection is a really good thing. So much time that we get caught up in the doing, and the busy, and just doing things the way we've always done them. I mean, we go to work, we work with our teams, we do what we need to do, we go to the grocery store, we make dinner, we watch TV, we go to bed. I mean, there's a pattern to everyone's life, whether you know it or not, or whether you recognize it or not. And this is disrupting our patterns. And by doing that, I realize there are a lot of people very uncomfortable, and there are people suffering. And I don't want to downplay that, because it's a horrible disease right now, and it's affecting our families. It's affecting people we know directly. I know somebody who's had it. I know somebody who died. So it's affecting us personally, and it's horrifying, really. But there's some good self-work to be done right now. If you recognize that you have the ability to do that. I mean, our routines are shaken up. What better time for us to look and say, hey, this is what I can control, this is what I can't control, and this is where I need to grow. So I've been trying to spend some time on the growth part. I've been doing a lot, in fact, which has been fun. Fun stuff for me.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that. And I appreciate your journey and what you shared medically as well, because I think that all of our life experiences have, you know, I in the morning, I just am grateful that I can breathe, you know, and I know people are going through very challenging times, health-wise or even financially. You know, it's a lot of challenges right now. But I found in my own life, and speaking to my clients and others, that like the challenges really help us grow. Just like you said, that uncomfortability is our growth.
Yep. And I do. Sorry, I do a gratitude challenge every day. So I do a program called 10-10-10. So it's 10 minutes of inspired reading, 10 minutes of reflection and gratitude, and 10 minutes of journaling every day. And I've been trying to keep that practice over the last month and a half since I learned it. And it's so valuable to do the gratitude. That is the best part of my day, because what I've learned is it's a mindset, first of all. But second, it is about being grateful for everything in your life. You can be grateful for the great, big, beautiful life you have. You can be grateful for your family and friends, or you could be grateful that you had a soft pillow to sleep on last night. You can be grateful for the taste of an apple. I mean, or the way the leaves dance in the breeze. I mean, it's just anything at all that changes your perspective into one of gratitude. And it really sets my intention for the entire day.
Yes.
It's a good place to be.
So true. It's so true. Yes. And even I found, you know, when I'm in resistance, or I'm like, you know, I don't like something is like gnawing at me. And then I have to remember to just go back into gratitude, you know, because I'm grateful that I'm having this resistance right now, because now I see what I want, what I don't want, you know.
Exactly.
That's always in motion. That's always changing. So I completely agree. And I love that 10-10-10. Maybe I'll figure out the time so people can know when the 10-10-10 discuss that, so they can get it. I'll try to write in the notes. But that's a great practice. And I think morning practices that we do daily really do affect our lives.
I think so too. The other thing I do every single morning is get some exercise. And I know it sounds trite almost because people go, oh, you're exercising every morning. But you know what? It sets my day. It creates something within me that it's an energy pull, and it's so valuable. I took an hour-long walk on the beach this morning with my dogs and my husband because I need that time. Whether it's rainy, whether it's beautiful or windy, it still helps set my intention for the day. Yes. And then I feel good. My body feels good, and so I can focus on the things I need to focus on.
Yeah. And we were in India, my children and I, for 6 months, and I got into a yoga practice, and I realized like aligning my my chakras is really releasing anything that's being stuck in my body. I used to have a lot of tension right here in my shoulders all the time from stress.
Yeah.
And then I found some shoulder exercises to really open it up, and it just makes me feel better. Just like you said, it makes me feel better, and I know how to manage, stress, basically, and frustration that's just trapped in my body. It's very, very essential.
Yeah. One of the things I love the most about yoga is the breathing that it's taught me over the years, because whenever I'm in crisis, because your body goes into crisis when you're stressed out or when you're anxious or something is threatening you and is dangerous, I love the breathing technique. I mean, it makes it so easy to recenter myself.
Yes. And there's so many different kinds.
Oh yeah. And then there's the one the Navy uses called box breathing. It's our military here, and it's an inhalation of 4 to 5. You pause for 5 seconds, then you exhale for 5 seconds, then you pause for 5 seconds, then you inhale. So it's like a box. Like I do that in my head when I do the box breathing. So.
Nice. Yeah, it actually reminds me of because the Navy, I did some diving. And diving, it's really great because you're actually underwater, so it's so quiet. And, my late husband, he could go really deep, like, 30 meters, but I don't go as deep, but still, I find this real peace that you can't really find anywhere else. And I don't do it a lot, but the few times that I've done it, it's amazing, and you're just focused on your breathing. That's the key. You just have this, oxygen tank, and you just have to focus on, because otherwise you get like panicked and you can't.
No, you can't panic. That's dangerous.
Yes. Cool. That's really wonderful. Yeah. Breathing is so, so important. And these are, I hope many of you are listening, the 10-10, I'll repeat it again. We'll, Andrea, you might want to say it again so that people who catch it again.
Yeah, so it's a 10-10-10 practice. It's 10 minutes of inspired reading, and you can be inspired by anything you want to be inspired by. 10 minutes of a gratitude practice and 10 minutes of journaling, just 10 minutes. And it's free writing. You write whatever you want. There are no rules. There's no one correcting your grammar. You don't have to turn this in. It's just for you. And it's actually a gift to be able to do it. And it'll be a gift to my kids one day when they find them.
Yeah, definitely. You keep all of them or turn them into a book.
To do that too.
Yeah, there's so many things you can do, and I'm a big fan of journal writing too. And I have to say, it really allows me to just release my thoughts and to reflect on things. And especially when I look back upon it, I'm like, wow, how far have I come? Where those things don't bother me anymore. So it's a great way to just monitor yourself over time.
Well, and if you write long enough, that can be your 10 minutes of inspired reading too. You can take a look back.
Right. Yeah. That's really good thought. I love that. That's beautiful. So there you go. We already have some techniques for you. For those of you at home who are not sure what to do with yourself, go out and get some exercise. And I actually, even some of my family members, they've been saying since they've been working at home, they feel so much better because, there's less commute time, less dealing with people on the road, and the pollution has decreased dramatically because all over the world, people are not driving, or buses and stuff. It's amazing.
It is good. I think the earth needed this as well.
Yes, I feel like it's also Gaia or the earth needing healing. And I wanted to go back to the empowerment of women, that part of how I met you, and how do you feel this time is for women? Thoughts about that?
It's a double-edged sword. It really is. First, what I've seen is that women are rising. Women are rising to the top of where they need to be in order to help others. And I don't want to say in order to take control, but I really mean in order to be aware of others and to help them. So women have some traits that men don't have, and men have traits that women don't have. And both translate into good leadership. So I'm not dissing men when I'm talking about women's leadership, but I'm really focusing on women because that's what my voice is for. I am a woman. I grew up in a family that didn't empower women. It was an old-fashioned atmosphere. And so I felt the boundaries early on until I realized I didn't need to feel those boundaries as I got older. And I've come into that power on my own as I get older. But women have grit, they have tenacity, and they have passion. And those three things, when you put them together, make us unstoppable. So we are really, really good in a climate such as this because we care. And we can show before we have anybody do something or ask anybody for anything, we show them that we care. And that is so, so important because people won't follow unless they know that you really care about them. So I think that's the biggest thing that we're showing. I posted an article yesterday that is a repost of one that was talking about the women leaders in the world and how they responded. And based on their response, it's a Forbes article of all things, but based on their response, the countries that they lead have had the least amount of problems with COVID-19. And it's really about losing the ego. I mean, there's a lot of leaders who have a lot of ego, and it's really losing the ego, understanding that this is tough and we need to fix it, but letting their entire constituency know that they care about them.
Yes.
So I think women, the other side of that sword, though, is a lot of domestic abuse issues happening right now. And I don't really want to go into that, but I want us to be well aware that there are women in horrifyingly bad relationships, and when they're stuck at home or stuck someplace with their abusers, and it can be mental, it can be emotional, it can be physical, it's amplified, and it worries me a lot.
Yeah, I did see an article about that, to be honest. First of all, I want to thank you for sharing that. I think it's so true that when we show up in love in all situations, miraculous things happen. And, you know, both for men and women, but I think women specifically have that ability to, you know, to just open their hearts and care because that's kind of how we, you know, that's just part of our nature.
Yep, I agree.
So I totally agree with that, and that's how I connect to my clients as well. So I think that that's just really true, and it just really does come from my heart. And I appreciate the fact that you said about ego because it is allowing. You know, we have a lot of mind chatter. We're afraid of a lot of things, and when we can just allow that to subside and say, you know what, this is how I really feel. The whole situation shifts.
Yeah, it does too. So when we're able to acknowledge that, but also act on it, I believe we can flip that mindset.
Yes.
Because, you know, I grew up believing that women weren't meant to be in leadership positions, be it in a business, in a family, in a government, anything. I grew up with that belief, and it's only because that's the belief that was taught to me. And it's neither bad nor good. It really is just what it is. And I acknowledge that now. But I truly believe that women now are realizing, and it's because the influx of media and everything else, but women are realizing that, wait a minute, we don't have to pretend to be something we're not. We don't have to take on the leadership traits of men to be effective. We can be ourselves. So, you know, I think women do that very well. We're able to connect with people. We validate how people feel. We're good at highlighting the positive things as well as addressing the negative things. But the other thing I think we're really, really good about is celebrating all victories, large and small. And it encourages people to do just that. It doesn't mean to not realize that there are hard things going on or not realize that this is something that we all have to get through and it's not easy. But there's the ability to take a step back and go, wait a minute, we need to actually see the positive in this situation so that we can get through the negative.
Yes, that's really, really true. And I really appreciate the authenticity that you mentioned because I think that, you know, I know in my own life and starting my own business for the past few years, I've had a lot of challenges, and every time I realized my intuition was always right. My
Yes.
own
Yes.
feeling about it is only going to lead me. No methodology that I buy or that I use or strategy, it doesn't always help me because I'm not the person that I'm getting it from. I'm me.
Yes.
So it has to be my voice.
Yeah. And it's so hard to tune out the other voices sometimes. Yeah. But once you get good at tuning out the other voices, you can actually hear yourself and you can trust that intuition. It's so vital. My worst mistakes ever have been when I haven't trusted my intuition. Yeah. I think it's true for most of us. Though.
Yes, yes. But I think that, you know, I really, I'm starting, I have this group program and I started in January, but now I have, starting a new session of it. And I found that like, from January to now, that the women that I've had in my group, really, we thrive on support. You know, we thrive on being able to be in a safe, sacred place with each other and really open ourselves up and allow ourselves to grow within the support. Then we can, you know, we kind of get energized. We can move, especially with this, move with the moon's phases and, you know, and all those kinds of things that are very watery, flowy. But to balance it, I feel like this is the balancing act we're in now, right? You know, it's neither like masculine or just feminine. We have to balance.
We
both
do.
our energies.
But I also think we have to stop apologizing for not being enough or not being male enough in a lot of ways. And women do that. They apologize to no end. I do it. I'm at fault. But if we apologize for who we are at the core of our being, then we're not validating ourselves. We're not loving ourselves enough. And then we can't be any good to anybody at all. So a strong woman is confident in her own skills and her own abilities and in her own intuition. That's a hard thing to realize. And I think it comes with trials and tribulations. It also comes with age. Sometimes the lucky ones have got it figured out earlier. But most of us don't. Most of us don't. The other thing is we don't rely on other opinions about our lives. We really, like you were talking about, we really need to understand ourselves so that we can honor who we are and be who we are to the best of our abilities.
Right, right. Because, you know, our voice matters. It's something that's really important to me because, you know, I help people to write their stories because every story matters. You know, whether it's in a printed book or it's in your journal, like you said, and you read it to yourself and your children, your story is your imprint on this earth, you know, and each of our souls, that's why we're here on this planet, to do something, you know, special that only we can do.
Yes.
And, you know, I can't stress that enough. You know, I've had so many different jobs and I knew in each of my jobs that somebody else could do it, you know, like maybe not like me, but they could do it. But but when I finally found my calling, I felt like, okay, nobody can do it the way I do it.
Yes.
You know, you hear me with that?
Yeah, I do really hear you with that. So it's about passion and tenacity there as well. And so I agree completely. I've done a lot of jobs myself where I was like, nah, I'm good at this, but this isn't what I'm passionate about. When I finally found myself writing, and I started writing a little over 3 years ago, and my first article, frankly, was catharsis on LinkedIn. That's my platform, is I write on LinkedIn, and my hashtag is Lead Like a Woman. But when I first started writing, it was catharsis. It was about an employee who had just died the year before, and he was a key employee. He was also a friend and a neighbor 4 doors down. He was 42 years old and he died of colon cancer. And he left 3 kids and a wife. And so it was brutal. It really was brutal. It was brutal for me as well. But when I started writing, I wrote that at first, and then my voice started to come out. My next few articles, they kind of ramped up to my passion for women. And now I realize this is something I'm good at. I'm good at writing. I'm good at seeing things from the other side that people don't always see from. But my goal is to lift women up. I'm not here to take anybody down. I'm not here to take males down. I am here to help women find their voices and to really understand how to be true to themselves and then lead others. And you can lead, like I said, in any way you want. You can lead in your neighborhood. You can lead in your family. You can lead in your book club or in your place of business. But what leadership feels like to women is really owning that and owning the power that comes with that in such a way that it's gentle. I think we are more gentle with our leadership. And I think if we're not, we're doing ourselves and others a disservice. So the other thing I've started lately that I wanted to talk to you about is that I have been wanting to do a podcast for years, but I've never wanted to tackle it. And I'm like, oh, this is just another thing on my plate and I have all this other stuff to do. Well, I decided to tackle it about 3 weeks ago. Yay. And I've recorded 8 so far. Some of them are thought leadership and about resilience and me. So I have 4 before and afters in my life. I'll just tease that. But I had 3 years of infertility treatment, and then we ended up adopting our 2 boys. And there's a story there that's a lot deeper than just what I'm saying now. And then I had the coma I was in 12 years ago. And then my house burned down 6 years ago. And I had to get my kids out. They were in bed, they were sleeping. So that was an interesting time in my life. And then my employee died of cancer quite suddenly, and it pushed me into a clinical depression. So I talk about those 4 issues, but then my goal is to interview these strong women who can empower other females to lead and empower them to be better. And I'm really loving it. But the new podcast, which should be live in a week, is called Lead Like a Woman .biz. It's the Lead Like a Woman show. But again, it's leadlikeawoman.biz, B-I-Z. And it'll be on Spotify. It'll be on iTunes. It'll be in all sorts of places. So I'm just really excited.
Oh, wonderful. I'm so excited. And I'll put the link here so that people will know where to find it when it's live.
Awesome.
And I'll put the date of, we'll talk about when the date is, and I'll make sure that, I advertise, because if I see you putting it up on LinkedIn, I'll definitely promote it. So awesome. Excited about it. And yeah, those teasers are very, very important, because now I want to know more. So
good. That's what I want.
Yes. I'm glad you share that. And yeah, I want to add about leading, women leading. I think each of us have our own way. We can't compare ourselves. I looked at many leaders when I started my business, so like, I want to be like that. I want to be like that, and I'm just like, but I'm not really like that. I am really soft. I really like, I'm also a writer, so I speak through my words, I can speak and on the camera and stuff, but the depth, the kind of depth that I have, someone else might not have, but that doesn't mean it's, there's no comparison.
No. And, there's a quote I love that just came up for me when you said that. It's, comparison is the thief of joy. So when you compare yourself to others in any realm of your life, then you're going to feel less than. Yeah. And I don't want to feel less than, but I also don't want anyone else to feel less than. So comparison is just one of those traps that we fall into. And I think everybody falls into it, not just women. But it's so, so dangerous, because if you're not comparing just to yourself, which I can compete with myself and compare to myself just fine, because I can make myself better based on who I am now. Right. But when you're comparing to other people, you're going to fall short in some way, shape, or form. Yeah. So comparison is the thief of joy. Don't steal your joy. Don't do it. Everyone needs joy in their lives.
That's true. That's true. And that's really, I'd like to just focus on that for a moment before we close in a few minutes. But, joy, I feel when we can experience joy, we try to find joy, or, in each and every moment of our lives. Yeah. That's my goal, to be in a state of joy. And right. I don't always achieve it in every moment of my life, but I found that when I have these immense feelings of joy, it's like I connect to another place, like spiritually, like I'm in a different place. And personally, I had a lot of different challenges as well in my life. Yeah. And to experience that pure joy, it's like otherworldly. So yeah, I really love that you brought that up.
There's so much value in it as well. Value to yourself, but also value to others around you. People get their energy from the energy of people around them. And if people are always cranky or down or anxious, you're going to all feel it. So if you can focus on joy once in a while, and that's why I do the gratitude practice, if I can focus on joy, I'm in a better place.
Yes, that's so true. Thank you for those beautiful, beautiful insights. And I will be posting in the details all of the different things that we mentioned today. So I'm sure, you know, you didn't have to write it down. I'll put it in any notes as I can.
Thanks, Gila.
Of course, if people want to connect to you, how can they connect to you?
Well, if they want to follow me on LinkedIn, I'm happy to connect with them there. And it's Andrea Heuston. So Andrea, Andrea. Heuston is Heuston. You can also hashtag Lead Like a Woman, and I come up. Some of my articles come up there. The other place is I own a graphic design and marketing company. It's Artitude Design. And I'm sure Gila will spell that for you, so I don't have to. And then in a week or so, you can get me at leadlikeawoman.biz. And I'm looking for strong females to interview as well. So let me know if you want to be interviewed.
Fantastic. So those of you who are listening to this, and if you're resonating with Andrea, definitely get in touch with her. This podcast sounds super, super amazing. And I know she's going to do an amazing. I mean, Andrea, I'm so glad you got this off the ground, and everything that you desired, you're seeing it now come to fruition. And whatever you wish for, I'm sure you will have it.
Thanks, Gila. This has been amazing. You're a fabulous host. It's been fun conversation.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And yeah, I'm looking forward to connecting again with you. And just thanks for your patience, thanks for your insight, and just thanks for being you.
Thanks, Gila.
Bye.
Bye.